About a month ago, one of my viewers, Leonidas Karayanis, asked me, and he said, "Dear Peter, I know it's difficult, but try for a video about micro brands, deep diver watches." And I said to him, "Done. I'll get onto it ASAP, give me several weeks or so, I'll see what I come up with." And then he replied to me and he said, "You are boss." And I said, "Mate, don't thank me yet, bro. I might bomb out." But I haven't bombed out, Leonidas. You asked me for a deep diver watch, a micro brand. I've got one before me. It's called the Audaz. It's a 1000 meter diver. We're going to check it out today because of you. Let's get stuck into it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. So as you can see here, we have an Audaz. It's a 1000 meter diver. It features a helium escape valve. It's designed to be a professional tool. It's been sent out by Audaz, and we want to thank you for sending it to the channel. We don't have to send it back, but that's not going to influence my review anyway. Let me first start by saying that the watch itself, if you see any familiarity to, you've ever seen a watch like this, well, it pretty much looks like a Rolex Deep Sea, the James Cameron version. So, you know, from the blue all the way down to the black on that dial. And I must say that the dial is stunning on this. The dial, what it does with the different lighting situations is really, really nice. But not only that, dimensions wise, it's also pretty much around the same size. So I'll get straight stuck into its dimensions, guys, so we can see what this watch offers and how good it is. So what we have, guys, is I measure a case diameter of 44 millimeters from there to there. The bezel itself overhangs slightly, so I measure the bezel at 45.1 mil. Now the case height on this watch is meant to be 16 mil, but with my calipers I measure from the bottom of the actual case back to the top of that sapphire crystal 16.9 millimeters. So if you notice the bottom of the case back, it's got a embossed diver's helmet. So from that embossing, I measured to the top of the crystal is 16.9. If I was to go from the inside of the case without the embossing, it comes into 16. So there's 0.9 of a mil just for that embossing, and I thought I'd share that with you guys. But even so, the Rolex Sea Dweller, the Rolex Deep Sea is a thicker watch than this. That comes closer to about 18 mil. But getting back to this watch, the lug to lug distance I measure at 51.9 mil and a lug width of 22 mil. So the watch is fairly hefty, it's fairly big. It also comes in at about 219 grams, spec'd up to my 7-inch wrist. So I'm going to give you guys a wrist shot to see what this looks like. Okay, there you go. So that's how the watch sits on my 7-inch wrist, and as you can see, even the 51.9, it doesn't seem to overhang because I have a fairly decent wrist that can cater for that. But it's a big watch, guys. Look at this, it's massive. It's a big chunky watch, but it's also heavy. And if you haven't already noticed, there's a little bit of a chunk missing out of the watch there. I'll take it off to show you guys. There's a because it's so big and because I've been wearing it, it basically grabs here and there. You know, I've damaged it. Well, when I say damaged it, I've put a little dent in it just there. I think on the bracelet somewhere I've sort of damaged it as well, because it's just a big watch and it seems to catch in areas. But in saying that, it's a tool, and I suppose it's been designed to be worn as a tool, not as a daily. So, but getting back to the watch itself, the end links, if you look at the end link to end link, it actually extends the actual lug distance from 51.9 all the way to 55. I measure 55.3. So it's a relatively big watch, and as you saw it sitting on my wrist, it has got a big presence. But in saying that, because the dial has a border around it, it seems to look visually okay, except for that height. So, but getting onto the strap itself, the stainless steel bracelet is solid, chunky. It's 22 mil. It tapers down to 17.7 here. The clasp itself, as you can see, properly milled. Double locking system, very nice. It features 4 micro adjustments, which is great. But it also has, I'll show you guys, a diver's extension. So it is designed to be a tool watch, which is great. There you go, lock that in and away you go. So the watch itself is a big, beefy, chunky watch, but it's a really nice watch. As far as I can see, the finishing and the quality is lovely. And this is the second Audaz we've had on the channel. We also had one that we gave away in our 15,000 giveaway, and that particular one I did mention that the finishing was nice, the case back was exceptional. I see here that they haven't let their quality drop as far as how it's finished. And if you look at that case, it's basically very fine satin brushing all the way through. Now the case itself is 316L stainless steel, and the finishing is very, very toolish inspired. And like I said, it also has a helium escape valve on the side there. And what that means is that you can use this watch for extended periods of time under a pressurized environment. So it can be used for saturation diving. Now, being a 1,000-meter diver, I've actually purchased myself a 1,000-meter watch a few weeks back. I just reviewed it. There you go. That's the Mueller Glashütte. So these watches can both do 1,000 meters of water resistance or atmospheric pressure. And as you can see, the difference, this one here is a beast. This one here is obviously a little bit more refined. And look, this is great. I wear this as a daily, I wear this as a tool watch, and its lume is fantastic. Everything about this watch is wonderful, but as a micro brand, I think, look, they've done a great job on this, as far as what it can accomplish from 1,000 meters with its saturation diving ability. But obviously you've had to have the sacrifice of a less refined product, a beefier, chunkier sort of a watch. And look, not to take anything away from this, Rolex Deep Sea is a bigger watch than this. It actually is dimension-wise slightly bigger than this. But on that note, the Rolex Deep Sea does handle 3,900 meters of water resistance. So, but let's get back to this. This is what we're here for. The bezel on this is a 120 click unidirectional bezel, and it features a lumed ceramic insert. And we'll have a listen to this. Nice, positive and crisp. Only slight back play. And as far as accuracy is concerned, for me it seems to be slightly off the mark. And let me get that minute hand out the way so you can have a look. So it's just ever so slightly to the right, and if I go one more click, it's to the left. So I've tried it, but yeah, it just seems to be quality control on this particular one that I have is ever so slightly out to the right. But that's something to note. The lume on this watch is fantastic. The lume is absolutely exceptional. It's Swiss Superluminova, and I'll tell you what, I've nicknamed this watch the flashlight or the torch, because really it glows. It just glows. Even just wearing it, you know, inside the house here and there, it seems to just glow on your wrist. So I'll give you guys a lume shot so you can have a look. And as you can see, that is just perfect. It's evenly applied, great legibility, the markers, the bezel, everything is just exactly where it needs to be, and very, very bright. So 10 out of 10 points for lume, guys. It really is that good. It's fantastic. Now, the sapphire crystal on this is a 4.8 millimeter thick sapphire, and it's got anti-reflective coating on the underside. As you can see, the dial doesn't fully wash out, so it's doing a really good job. Strong, solid, obviously designed to go for the depths of the ocean or atmospheric pressure, so it's designed for a purpose. Now the crown on the watch is a signed screw down crown. Excuse the hands, by the way, guys. I've been working, and man, I'm trying to keep my hands as clean as I can, and these are clean, by the way. They've been washed, but I've been doing some odd jobs from painting and plastering. We just came out of lockdown, so I've been doing some work. I've been wearing gloves and it doesn't work. Gloves don't work, but anyway, I'm so sorry. But let's get back to this, guys. The crown itself is a signed screw down crown. It features, like I said, 1,000 meters of water resistance. It popped out, as you can see. The movement is a Miyota 9015 automatic, and it's running nice and healthily. We can 2 clicks hack the movement. As you can see, the second hand has stopped. We can adjust the time to wherever we want. Lock that in. Second starts. Single click, and we can adjust the actual date and lock that in. The winding experience, your standard Miyota, nothing untoward, lovely. And the latch on experience, beautiful. So I'm really actually impressed on that crown. I really am. It's a really good size. It feels great. It feels toolish. In fact, the whole watch feels like a tool, which is exactly what you should be expecting when purchasing something like this. Now, if we have a close look at that dial, you can see all the markers are applied and they're lume filled, as we saw. And look, the legibility on this is fantastic. The legibility on this dial is really wonderful. It is a big, solid tool. It is a big purpose-built tool, as you can see, but it's not without its faults. And I'll get onto the positives and negatives of this. I'll tell you guys what I think personally about this watch. Now, after living with this watch for the better part of 2 weeks on the wrist, you get to know a watch. In fact, I got to know this watch within the first day. I thought, geez, this is not for me. It really isn't, guys. I mean, it's great, it's solid, it's a tool, it's a gadget, but it's big, it's solid. You really need to be on the roids to be able to handle this as a daily. But on saying that, they did also supply us, and the watch does come with a second strap. So I'll open this up, there you go. The watch comes with a silicone strap as well, which, look, it's soft, it really brings the weight down on the watch, but it's also a dust magnet. So there's lint everywhere, there's dust on this thing. That's pretty much a standard properties of silicone, but it does bring the watch down to a much more wearable experience. In fact, I wore this for about a day and a half on the silicone strap, and although it was lighter, I didn't enjoy the strap, only for the reason that it's got a little bit of it's not stiff, but it seems to push the watch up high on the wrist. So it seems to basically push the watch up as you're wearing it. So I think this is pretty much designed to go over a wetsuit, as obviously, you know, the strap itself being, you know, with diver's extension and all the rest. So it's a tool, guys. It's a decent tool. It's designed to be a specific tool, and I think in that regard, brilliant. They've done a really good job. You know, they've offered you a fully spec'd out watch, which is wonderful. And the watch comes in at about $570 US, but correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure on their website, if you sign up for their newsletter, I think you might get 30% off or something. I don't know if it applies for this. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but you can check that out for yourselves. But I'll tell you what I think. Look, after having the watch for 2 weeks, I'll tell you what I think about its positives and negatives. And for me, the positives, the build, the finishing, fantastic. It really is a solid piece. The lume, there's really one thing I can say. Wow, it's really that good, guys. The lume on this is absolutely exceptional. The dial, I love that blue. I think the vibrancy coming out of that dial, the color, just the tonality coming down all the way down to black. They've really done a great job, and it's actually been a pleasure looking at the watch. Even though me personally, I've been trying to overcome the weight experience and the size experience, but the visual appeal of this has been lovely, which is good. And probably the last positive, I've had to say that Miyota. It's good to see that they got a Miyota 9015 in this. Although that sort of size of watch, they probably could have gotten away with putting an NH35 because it is a big watch. But you know, maybe to cut some costs on their side and reduce it on our side. But it is what it is. But the negatives of the watch, guys. First and foremost, guys, probably have to say its physical size, its dimension, its weight. It is a big, purpose-designed watch as a tool. I don't think it's designed to be a daily. Look, I could be wrong. You know, someone with an 8-inch wrist, someone with a really big, solid arm, yeah, would definitely this would go for them. But it's not my cup of tea, guys, as a daily or something I'd use on a weekly basis. I have persevered with it. I've put it on my wrist, and it's not an enjoyable experience as a daily watch, but it is a wonderful timepiece as far as it hasn't skipped a beat. It's been great to see that lume in the evening, which is, you know, wonderful. It feels the business. It really does. But second negative I'd have to say is probably quality control. That bezel really doesn't line up, and like I said, the sample I've got here, it just slightly off. And look, as a tool, you know, if it was a refined Swiss watch, something more luxurious, okay, I'd be more inclined to complaining and say, well, it's not acceptable. But as a tool, there are some tolerances. Sometimes they're out. We get that a lot from certain Seiko drivers all the time. Well, we've got one here as well, so that's something to look out. And probably, look, the bracelet itself, it features split pins, and I just found very, very difficult trying to get well, actually it's not split pins, it's actually a push and collar, pin and collar system, and I found it very difficult to take out. You know, you get out to a certain level and it just wouldn't come out. So very, very stiff. I really would have benefited, you know, being a tool watch from screw pins, just to make it a lot more easier and experience. But apart from that, guys, look, check them out. Have a look at their website. $570 US. There possibly is a discount on their website as well for this particular unit. It's called the Audaz, the Abyss Diver. Big, sexy, chunky. It's a man's watch. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.